Well, guys, what an exciting weekend it was, and I think just can't tell you again how excited I am for all the people involved with our university and the town and the state of Colorado. It's that was really a neat environment and an exciting way to win a ball game. And we talked kind of last week how the offense went down and kind of nailed one in against BC on the road, and defense came up big when they needed to stop against Reno, and then this week special teams had a big role in nailing down a win with kicker's kick, and you know what, that's developing a team and guys understanding what it is to be accountable to each other. So it was great energy. I just can't, that's what we need to make this place again, is a place that people don't want to come play because of the energy in the stands, and that was good. So
injury report.
Oh, injury report. I just happen to have that. It's pretty good stuff. You guys might notice that Kevin Pierre-Louis did not play in the last game, and that was due to headaches and that kind of came up throughout the week, and chose, as we're not going to put anybody at risk. So that's why he was held out, was because of those continuing migraines and headaches. He'll get retested today. We did some exertion things actually on game day, not to see if he could play, but just kind of see forward where the baseline was at. So we should know more today, and that was to occur today at, I think, noon. It's noon now, so we should know today more on him. And hopefully, obviously, that's a big one for us. Mason Myers, Moose, had a knee deal. I would say it was very, very doubtful for this week. However, it's not a surgical thing as of right now. So that's good news, from that standpoint. But obviously Nick Callender has to step in and like he did for Sambo and pick up the flag at that position. Charles Lovett, who took a pretty nasty hit on an inside screen and got up a little woozy. I would say we'll probably be without him based on that. Let's see. Garrett Grayson won't throw today. It's good. We get some good work out of those other guys, and I think it's good for us. But he's fine. Treyas, who I thought ran the ball with some energy, one cut runs, ran physical in that game. He's going to be a little sore, obviously, but at the same time, expect him to be back as well. So from an injury standpoint, Schlager coming back from that hamstring that he had, and he was actually could have been available if needed, but he should work out more. And then we've got a couple true freshmen that are going to get some things worked on this week that are redshirting. So other than that, for this time of year, every football team in the country has people banged up. And, I look at it as, each individual guy has to really understand the difference between being hurt and being injured, knowing what he can push himself in preparation to be ready, and in this case, for a great rivalry game. And you hope that some of that pushes guys to really push themselves in the preparation this week.
There's a lot of talk going on here about stuff that's unprecedented for many, many years. How do you keep them grounded? How do you keep them from looking ahead? How do you keep them from not getting caught up in that?
Well, I think part of that starts with everybody, in the organization that understands this is the way it should be. And don't get all fired up about, the fact that it was a great atmosphere, but that's what we want. That's what we're striving for, and it's hard. It's human nature, to feel good when people are patting you on the back, and that's human nature. That's something everybody battles in life at some point in time, and for us, the key, I think, is breaking down fundamentally why this has happened, and probably even kind of reminisce about some of the sick feelings that you may have had when things weren't going so well. And there again is really learning from past experiences to help you move forward.
Jim, going back over that last 108, I know you started off with the run plays, then you got into your Mayday. Is that a philosophy for you, or is there also a mixture of you had confidence in your team at that point? Be aggressive.
It is truly a philosophical thing that we practice every single week. And, our Mendoza line is the 30-yard line. And you like that, didn't you?
Yeah, I like that.
That'd be batting 200 in case anybody doesn't know around here. But our Mendoza line is the 30, whether it's 2 minutes before the half or 2 minutes at the end of the game. Now, obviously, it's different if you're behind. But in this situation, we were trying to say, hey, let's make sure that once we get to this point, now let's put the accelerator on. And sure enough, the first run, didn't get us much, and then D ripped off a, 15, 17-yarder that got us into that situation. Dead clock, so we didn't use timeouts. We felt we didn't want to leave any time on the clock, there at the end, no matter what it was. And, the execution of how it went is something we try to script every single week. And, it comes back to preparation. You try to cover every conceivable scenario, whether it's long return field goal, whether it's, all these different things that you just never know when they're going to come up. And, like the guy said, it's really the first time, I think, since we've been here, and we practice every single week what we call, center field goal. And sure enough, we did it, and they came off the field and said, now I know why we do that.
Do you feel like you're an aggressive coach by nature in that way? Because a lot of coaches would have just, even still that far back, we'll go into overtime, we're at home in front of a solid crowd.
Well, I don't know. I think we play the odds, or kind of. I think we try to play smart, tactical football on both sides of the ball and in special teams. We didn't do a great job of flipping the field in this last game. They got us kind of, but I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know really how to even answer that question, to be honest. I think I've been really fortunate to be around some great coaches that understand what it takes at the end of the day to win the game, the most important thing that you do. And I just feel fortunate that I've been able to learn from such great guys in that situation, in those situations.
How much of that has to do, though, with your confidence in your team to pull off that? I mean, considering Garrett had been sacked 8 times, and one of them was technically a strip sack.
Yeah.
A play like that hurts you.
Well, let's talk about the kind of noticed play. Sam I.M. Carlson hustling after that loose ball probably was the turning point in the game. Unbelievable. And it kind of just shows you the grit and desire of guys to do whatever it takes. And he could have sat and watched the play, which, you see happen a lot of times. But that guy, I mean, you talk about a huge play in that game. Wow. And but going back to your question, I've got confidence in our team. got confidence that they understand what it takes to be successful. And, you know, at the same time, you got to learn. You got to let them go, you know. It's kind of like a parent sometimes. You know, you've got to trust your guys that they're going to do what's right. And in this case, they did what's right.
Is this 6-1 start a prime example of that? I mean, statistically, you guys are a little bit better in a lot of areas than last year, but just that, doing those little things, like Sam getting on the fumble, the expectation of winning and focusing on those little things, is that the biggest difference we're seeing this year versus last year?
Well, I think an understanding more so of the attention to detail in everything that you do. You know, guys, our team GPA is as high as it's ever been. You know, we actually have guys that go to class, you know, because I go and check them. And they're there. Not always smiling, but they're there. And, you know, those are details. And you know, I think it's a carryover, you know. I mean, we tuck our shirts in. It's a detail. It's what we do, you know. You know, there's certain things we take our hats off when we come inside the meeting rooms or whatever. You know, I mean, those type of things. I mean, you kind of think, you know, what's the big deal, right? But you know what? Those are just little details that kind of is a reminder to take care of a lot of things.
I went over and looked at some of your defensive numbers, and they're not like glaringly different from last year. There's a couple areas. Scoring defense is obviously better. The red zone defense is better. Is this a case of the way they're playing right now? It's not so much the measurables, but the eye test for you.
Yeah.
That this is an improved group.
I'll tell you what, what I like is how they're preparing. And I think, you know, let's give credit to, you know, our coaches that have put plans in to help us be successful that fit our personnel. And yet, the plans have always been really good. Sometimes the preparation and the execution of the plan is not great. And yet, you know, our coaching staff in all three phases, and I think part of that has to do, you know, we've had a kind of a 3-year continuity deal, you know, where is something to be very thankful for. And these guys put in a lot of time, and our kids understand if they take the preparation that they're given, and then go execute the plan on Monday, on Tuesday, on Wednesday, on Perfect Thursday, on Walkthrough Friday, you know, up till the clap drill that we do before we get on the bus that we go to the stadium. You know, that routine, there's some comfort in there, you know.
Third year in this rivalry, how is it different? How is it similar to what you've been through before, and kind of the state of the rivalry, and what do you see right now?
You know, on a personal note, I'm not sure I understood it the first year. I'll be straight up and honest. And after that game, it's one probably that stuck with me personally harder than any one, because, you know, we often talk with our guys about, you know, eliminating clutter. So you put too much on it, and all of a sudden it becomes bigger than it is. But the other catch on that is giving of yourself for others. And there's a whole lot of people that this means a ton to. And I get it. And we're responsible for that. And so, you know, I think it's one of those, this is awesome, man. This thing goes back, in the historical part of that boot and all the things that go with it. That's what I just love about college football. And this is a team that is getting back to their basics. They're a team that, they don't penalize themselves. They're great tacklers on defense and force fumbles. A couple of those run back for touchdowns that have changed complexions of games. they play with a little extra oomph in this one, and as they should and as we should. And you know, it's interesting is, you know, I refer back to where I came from. You know, to the people, the real game is that game in October where Alabama plays Tennessee. They think it's the the Alabama-Auburn game, but it's interesting from a historical perspective. I think this game is something that, you know, is just, God, it's awesome, man. I love it.
You've coached against Craig, even here.
Uh-huh.
You know Craig, what do you see in that team?
Well,
that is reflected from his.
You can tell the discipline in which they play with. You can tell the mindset that they attack. They don't hurt themselves, and he gets it. They defensively are as sound can be. Offensively, they're going to test your manhood, and that's how you grow up in this business. I think it's great, man, and he will, you know, continue to do great things there. There's no doubt about it.
When you look, because obviously the system you brought in was different than the players he inherited. But have you been somewhat impressed with how you've seen maybe some players
How
transform?
quickly
to
they've
a-
adapted, but I think that also speaks for the type of guys that they had there, from the standpoint of toughness, you know. You know, a lot of those things. Now, let's face it now. I mean, that's a ball squad that had a 5-year run on us, right? So they were doing something right. And, you know, something to be said for that.
Go back to your defense. Max had something after the game where he thought they did a really good job of playing one play for what it was, going on to the next one. That's not the case always for your defense, maybe last year, year before. Are you seeing that as a sign of maturity?
Well,
Maybe this group is
you know,
playing-
I look at, I think one of the things that probably stands out is we've been better as far as giving up the explosive game-changing plays, you know, for the most part. You're going to give a couple up, you know, but our numbers, I think, have decreased there, which forces then the opponent to you know, consistently go down and keep going. You know, you don't give up the cheapie. And, you know, there were times, I think, where I thought about my noon league games where I used to cherry pick, stand at the one end, and then they'd throw it down to me, you know, get an easy two. There was a whole lot of that happening. And so that's not true. I hustled back on defense. But anyway.
Jared was Special Teams Player of the Week in the Mountain West Conference. How much confidence do you have in him, and how has he lived up to it?
Was that the Subway guy? Who? Someone told me our kicker was. And yeah, kicker, he, you know, he did his job. And yeah, there was no doubt that it would go through. And, you know, I think he was probably as, you know, upset with himself on, you know, duck hooking the one, you know, when he came off. You know, it's tough. You know, you got to, you know, when you duck hook into the woods that deep, you know, you either got to take an OB or go hunting for it. And, but, you know, it's interesting. This team believes in him, and you can tell that. I mean, even the calmness that was on the sideline, you know, there wasn't anxiety about anybody there because they trust that kicker's going to go do his job.
You didn't seem to blink at all. I mean, after you missed the 47-yarder, the one he kicks to tie, it's 46. It's not too long after that. You don't blink. It just, you had no shaking confidence in him.
No, never do. No, he's a kicker, and he's spends all day kicking. And I coach him a little bit. You know, I explain what the goalposts are and how it's supposed to go through it. And he pretty much responds to that. So,
How important is that to you? Because it's one situation there, maybe, you know, the last pass that you try to show your team you have confidence in them. How important is that in the overall coaching scheme for you, that you have to put that on display for them?
well, I think, you know, that goes back to really all our coaches. We've got everybody, you know, I mean, our whole staff, we've got belief in these guys. We've seen how much they've grown, and yet we also know how far they have to go, you know, to develop into a consistent winner. And, you know, those are the lessons you just keep teaching. And we're getting a little bit better.
Does having a guy like Roberts play into your decision a little bit of, hey, if we can get a big play, now we can go down there. We know that kicker can.
Oh, kicker, yeah. He's yeah. I mean, he's a guy that has, and you know what? It's interesting. Trust is something that's earned, and that can be said for every walk of life. And he has earned the trust of his family and this team and the people around him, because that's what he does. And you know, we'll never, you know, blink as long as he's. I mean, I think about the first one he made when we got here. I think was a 50-some yarder or something against the first game we played when we got here at Bronco Stadium. And when he trotted out there, I did get on the headsets to Coach Hammerschmidt and ask, can he do this? You know, because I wasn't sure who he was when he was running out there. I hadn't seen that jersey number much. But got total confidence in what he does, and proud of him.
When did you really start to fully feel that confidence in this team, to have that trust in this team?
Well, you know, I spent 7 long years as a special teams coordinator. Might be one of the most thankless jobs in the world. And yet, one of the things, I go back to, you know, guys that are free throw shooters. You know, you've got to instill confidence in them and never get too high, never get too low. You know, I mean, those guys have to be. It's, you know, you got to groove your swing, you got to groove your shot, you know, whatever that is. And, you know, I learned that, you know, I didn't like they're out there, I mean, as comfortable as you can make them and let them understand the clutter is nothing. Just go do that specific job that you've done time and time again, right? And we do things in practice to simulate some goofy situations for him, and punter guy too. And so far they've been pretty successful.
But not just those two, the whole team. When did you really start to develop the trust that this team can do the things, some of the things you've asked them to do?
Well, you know, it's the evolution of teaching, and it's the evolution of demanding, and you know, we're not there. I mean, we're not there. And you know, the one thing you find out, each and every one of us in this room, look, we never arrive, ever. So the continual stride forward, and learn from hiccups, learn from bumps, as well as successes, to help you manage whatever the next thing is. That's what we've got to all understand.
fact of life cluttered question. I'm somewhat sheepish for asking it, but you're 6-1.
You have never been sheepish
No,
yet.
okay.
I mean, how can you put a
I'm not
disclaimer on it like that?
I went to Colorado, so I'm not you're 6-1, third season. You came from Alabama. There's starting to be speculation, as there inevitably will be, about a possible move, quote, up or beyond for you. Do you take that as a compliment, and how do you respond to it?
I think it's pretty cool, don't you? I mean, who would have thought that when we got here? And I kind of look at it, I kind of giggle a little bit when you hear it, but I also just can't tell you how proud I am of all our coaches and the people that have committed themselves to a vision and continually working to do that. I mean, that's pretty cool stuff.
But could there be, and is there anything to it?
You know, no one's called me, and I've been asked about it, and I relay that only to our people because they're the reasons. It's nothing I have done. It's this football team and the administration who's given us the opportunity to be successful. All the people involved. I mean, shoot, even Stu Ball's bringing Mamaroni's pizza rolls. When you guys used to come, you didn't have this good stuff. I mean, that's good. That's a commitment to excellence. But he's as big a part of this as everybody. And that's what I just really like to see is the whole organization working their tail off for these guys that play football.
Who's asked you about it?
What's that?
Who has asked you about it?
You, a reporter on the national level, 2 of them, another reporter from Colorado paper. So it's mostly reporters, I guess, to qualify it.
Jim, you talk a lot about keeping the team grounded and all that. At the same time, how do you as a coach keep yourself from just kind of thinking you've got all these things out there within your reach, and you want that to motivate your team, but to not get caught up in that so that you lose track of the next week or the next game?
Well, it's first and foremost, I look in the mirror and see how out of shape I am, realize how much work I got to do. That probably is one of them. But I don't know. You know, it goes back to, I think we've talked about it before. You know, you never arrive. I mean, the day you think you have, you're done. So I don't see it as that. I see it as, you know, I go back to just seeing kind of the joy on people's faces, you know, and, you know, if we can just give something back, which I think we're starting to do, I don't know, that's the satisfaction. But as soon as you're in this long enough, as soon as something else goes the other way, you know, then those same 4 reporters are asking me about when I'm getting my head chopped off, right? You know, I mean, I get it. That's what have you done for me lately? Well, I haven't done anything because we haven't gone to practice yet today. I know how hard our staff worked all through yesterday and all through last night, and how hard we're working today. And then we'll get a chance to visit with our ball squad here at 2:05 as we set the path for this week.
You keep saying you'll never arrive, that's your thing, but it's important for you to keep giving them chances to try and get a little bit closer?
No doubt. And, you know, that's my responsibility. That's why we do what we do is to help these guys achieve goals and learn from all the different situations that arise in that's what makes this fun. I mean, that's what makes it fun. And you know, it's also what makes it gut-wrenching too.
You address the offensive line with Mason Myers being out.
Yeah.
But now your assessment of just where that line stands and where it can be moving forward.
Well, you know, that defense that we just played, they got real guys over there that play for real. And, you know, I think they took it to us a little bit. And much like this front seven group that we're going to play this week, I mean, you take that Yarbrough guy, number 55, that shows up on every snap, and you take those two inside guys that come at you and throw you in the backfield, including the guys from Michigan State and the guys from Oregon, and in the anger or whatever you want to call the power that they do it, you know, that's what we've got to expect every week. And so there isn't time to measure your opponent. You've got to expect that from the start and go take it. And, you know, I thought at times their guys took it to us pretty good.
Was it more physically? Like, I think was the assumption we got out of Boise State, they physically manhandled it. Utah State, was it a mixture of just what they did to you physically, or their unique blitz package?
And their unique scheme, which only does this, it puts that little piece of question is, you know, my footwork, you know, based on a look or whatever, wherever the mic point is, or, you know, that kind of thing. So there was some of that, which there is no replacing experience, right? And that's what, you know, last year's group obviously had, you know, 10,028 starts or whatever it was, right? So these are all things that help you with as these guys keep playing. And, you know, here's the good thing is we got a lot of them for a lot more years to come. So we're going to get better and better as we go.
Any comfort this week in knowing that you don't have to face a rolling ball butcher knife?
That guy last year, he was a rolling ball of butcher knives. But, you know, what really concerns us most going into this week is, you know, going to be our preparation. And I think to kind of comment on Terry's question earlier was the clutter, you know. So many people petting you, you know, scratching your belly. When I do that to my dog Clarabelle, she really gets excited, you know, and like is happy, you know. And yet sometimes maybe she doesn't deserve it, okay? But I can't resist the look on her face when she kind of gives me those eyes.
Is that where the rivalry and all maybe helps keep that focus?
I would sure hope
You
so.
can- I mean, that's something you can really zero
You
in
know,
on.
I would sure hope so. And again, I didn't do a real good job, I don't think, understanding the magnitude. And even though I tried to study the history, until you're in one, it's hard to understand the magnitude of the rivalry. And this is a real rivalry now.
So what was it that you didn't realize, and when exactly did it hit you?
Probably the passion and the reaction after they whooped us, you know. And, you know, we went up there both years, you know, that we've been there. And, you know, they played with a fervor now, you know. So we got to match that intensity.
How has Ty played since he came back?
Really good, really good. He's playing, and I'm not afraid to say it, and I don't think it'll go to his head. At least it better not. But I think he's playing as good as any tackle in the country, and I mean that sincerely. What he did in that Reno game against a very good quality player. See how he flew around and handled these guys this last week, just winning the one-on-ones, you know. This guy's, and, you know, even to hear his voice in the locker room, you know, he's in it, man. He's in it for this team. And I think that speaks volumes for the guy.
Does he know who the partridge family is now?
He actually looked up and he said, you know, and it's a little, it was beautiful.
I'm curious, because he had a really good streak going last year where he didn't give up any sacks to any of the top guys in the league. I don't know if he gave up a sack, right? Were any of the ones attributed to him this past week?
You know, I don't even know that answer, and I know I should.
I don't know.
But, I mean, his guy never got real close to the quarterback, so that's a good thing. Yeah. All right. Anything else?
Jared, after he missed the one kick, the long pass down with less than a minute to go. What do you guys gain from that?
You know, we believe in ourselves, and he believes in us. At any point in time, we can go make a play to go win a game. You know, Jared missed that kick. I think the drive before, same exact yardage, same spot pretty much. And football's one of those games where, you know, not everything is perfect. You know, even the pros make mistakes. But it's just having the confidence to go out there and kind of have a short memory and go out and play how you can play and do what you can do, and that's kind of what kicker did. And with that pass, you know, why not take a shot? You got nothing to lose at that point.
But do you guys gain confidence knowing that your coach has it in you?
Yeah, I think it kind of goes both ways. We feed off of him, and he feeds off of us. At no point in time during that game was there ever a doubt that we weren't going to win the game on the sideline. And I think that, you know, goes from top to bottom and bottom to top. It's just a belief in what we do and the system that we have that we're going to be successful.
When did that change? I can pretty much guarantee it probably wasn't that way your first year.
No. Confidence is a tricky deal. You know, it's tough to have confidence when you don't believe it, I guess. So it took a few games where we played well, and you know, we competed with some teams that kind of, I guess, we surprised ourselves. You know, in the past, being here, sometimes you feel like we just find ways to lose, and now I feel like it's the exact opposite. We find ways to win. So I can't tell you exactly when, you know, that rollover happened, but I feel like, you know, things are different.
So much is going on around this team now. 6-1, getting votes, sellout crowd, all the attention. How does this team stay grounded now?
You just stick to what we do every week. You know, we know how we got here, and that's hard work and you know, doing what's right on and off the field. So we're gonna stick to that, you know, method of winning, and I think that's the easiest way to not get caught up in everything, because at the end of the day, it's the same size field every week. You know, we got to go play our game. It's cool. It's cool that we have the attention that we're having and the success we're having. But I think we're pretty well grounded on how we got here.
Is that harder with each successive week, or does it get easier?
It gets a lot easier. I've been through some tough seasons, and it's tough coming, you know, to work and committing the amount of time and the amount of effort you need to do when you're losing week in and week out. It's a little bit easier to come in on a Monday and get back to work when, you know, you're feeling a little better about a win and your body kind of naturally feels a little better, and, you know, it's a little bit easier.
I know a rivalry game always has a little juice to it, but for the senior class, to try to win that boot, you know, carry that boot off your home field, does that add a little bit to it for you?
Yeah, it does. The last time we played Wyoming at home was my redshirt freshman year, and that was the last game of the season that year, and you know, we let that one slip away. That one's been bothering me since then. It'll be nice to battle for that boot, you know, on our home turf.
Since you came back, you've had a center go down, guard go down. How has it been? How difficult has it been to stay together as an offensive line? How have you done it?
It's been pretty easy. You know, we spend a lot of time together as a unit. Since the start of camp, you know, every day we're together, and off periods, off time, we're hanging out together in the offensive line room watching, you know, Netflix and YouTube, and just finding ways to stay happy and kind of bond together. So we're a pretty tight-knit group. You know, when someone goes down, it's tough to see, but at the same time, we know each other well enough to know someone's going to step up.
How have you played since you came back?
Whew. I feel like I've played pretty well. Every game, there's you know, a few plays you always want back. it's always a learning process. I feel like if you're content ever, then you're not doing what you're supposed to do. I always try to find ways to get better, so it's never good enough.
The improvement here didn't come overnight, but how dizzying has this season been for you guys? All it's at?
I think this is a surprise to everybody, but everybody in the building. We knew this was coming. We saw it developing, and we knew we had something special. Just the amount of dedication and commitment we saw in the off season, and the extra work people were putting in, we knew something special was going on. Whether or not people outside wanted to believe that, I guess, was kind of the difference. But now that we're here and we're 6-1, and we're feeling pretty good about where we're headed, I think people are starting to believe us.
When you hit the field, there was a minute 8 left, and you're down on the 11. Did you feel like no matter what happened, unless somebody broke off a huge run, you were going to play for a tie?
No, we went out and we have a Mayday alert, so we don't want to give the ball over, and get them in scoring position. So we make sure that we get to the 30 or the 35 before we go into our hurry up. So I've seen it before. I think it was last year against San Jose State, right before half. We ran the ball 3 or 4 times and got 50 yards. People tend to play off when they're worried about the 2-minute offense. So I knew we could get a good gash in there and maybe get into a hurry up mode. And D had that nice run and then kind of got us going. And then at the timeout we talked about maybe taking a shot. At that point, might as well try to get the game over with.
Do you guys view him as an aggressive coach?
Yeah.
He'll take chances?
Yeah, he takes chances. I'd call them calculated risks. It's never a blind, judgment call. It's he knows what we're doing and what we can get out of it. And I believe in every call he's made, whether or not it's been risky.
It's fun playing for a coach like that, knowing he's going to give you a shot.
It is. 4th down comes, and instead of jogging straight off the field, sometimes you look over and what are we doing? That's pretty neat to know that at any time we can make something happen. Yeah, it's fun.
Give us one word to describe your attitude towards Wyoming. Hatred, respect. You got one word that you can summarize Wyoming in your mind?
Respect. Is that it? Respect.
Anything else you got?
That was a trap.